So I welcome you all in today's live session, first live class for this data science class, which we had demo on 30th. So what I will be doing today is we'll just quickly in like five, 2 to 5 minutes, we'll be going through what we discussed, what syllabus we'll be covering and where we'll be starting today. Like we told that we'll be covering maths for data science, where we'll be covering topics like linear algebra, calculus, probability and statistics, and then some module assessment. Then Python's basics for which is required, which is essentially required for data science. We'll be covering only those part. We'll not be going in depth for of Python. And as I told earlier, that will the sequence which I have mentioned in this syllabus will not be I'll not be always following that sequence. I'll be covering all those content over the entire course. But uh, like today only, we'll be starting with Python. We'll later on cover maths for data science. So in a similar way, moving forward also, we'll be like covering some topics earlier, then some later. But it will all be always connected. There will be no disconnect among topics. Like if you study Python, it's not that you haven't studied maths for data science, so you wouldn't understand anything. It's not like that. So some topics are having some disconnect, while others, when we move to machine learning, there some continuity is required, and there will be following a proper sequence, and which is shown here. Like we'll be covering following supervised, unsupervised, semi-supervised, and reinforcement learning types of machine learning, and we'll be covering certain projects which we will discuss later in depth when we will be near that topic. So I will there will be option like I will be giving you like 2 to 3 options for a certain topic that you have to choose any one of those projects and you could work on that. And next, similarly, we'll go with dimensionality reduction, an important concept, then unsupervised, and then finally we'll be starting with deep learning like ANN, TensorFlow, CNN, and other concepts like which has been mentioned here. So I'll not be uh, wasting so much time on the syllabus again here. So this is next we have basic reinforcement learning, then we'll be going with NLP, then some projects, then computer vision, then some projects on large language model, understanding what is large language model in detail, and then projects based on recommended system. And these projects which I'm talking about is will be real life based some projects which will be valuable to you, and you can write those in your CV, and using those projects you will be able to discuss with your interviewer. You will have a talking point. You will get to talk and tell about more about yourself and how you worked on that project. That will really help you a lot during your interviews. So now let's quickly start with today's topic. For today, I'll be going slow because this is first class. So for first couple of days or couple of weeks, we'll be starting slow because we need to understand the important concepts of Python, because based on these basic concepts is the entire data science or some coding is based on. So we must learn these concepts in detail. And later when we understand all these building blocks like Python, data, maths for data science, SQL, then we can pick up some pace in machine learning because those models are based on mathematics, which we would have already covered in the maths for data science. So it will be easy to understand there. So, so let's start for today. So I'll be sharing what I'll be doing over this entire course is that I'll be sharing my Google Colab or Jupyter Notebook, whichever I'll be using that day. So today, like I'm using Google Colab. So for example, some other day I will be using Jupyter Notebook. So I will be at the end of class or the next day, I can share you the Jupyter Colab or Google Notebook, which I have used so that you can go through it. You can keep it for your revision during your interview or your preparation ahead. So first we have some basic definition of Python. So Python is a high-level interpreted programming language, and it is known for its clear syntax, readability, and versatility. So the reason why Python is gaining so much popularity nowadays is that it is quite user-friendly and very easy to learn and understand. writing programming in Python is more or like writing a like language, Hindi or English, which we are writing. So it's generally like that. So that's why it is picking up pace quite a lot, and it is the most popularly used language in data science. I would say that almost all the data scientists or machine learning engineers use Python only. So what is Python used for? So Python is used for many other applications like web development, data science and machine learning, automation and scripting, software development, scientific and numerical computing, education. Like I said, due to its clear syntax and readability, Python is preferred language for teaching programming concepts to beginners, network programming, and even game development. So, so currently, I think the version of Python which is latest is 3.12, 3.12, and the IDE which will be preferring in this course will be one. There will be one online free so like Google Colab, which we'll be using a lot, and another is Jupyter Notebook. Like here we have, you can see. So sometimes we'll be using Anaconda Navigator to use Jupyter Notebook, which we have here. So I'll be, but this is slightly more memory intensive. This will require some amount of external RAM, which is needed. And apart from Jupyter and Google Colab, some prefer Spider also. This is one of the more powerful Python IDE. So basically, we'll be covering only Jupyter Notebook and Google Colab in this classroom. And I will upload a separate video how to download and install Anaconda and how to launch Jupyter Notebook or even Spider if someone is interested. So I will do that in a separate video because explaining these things like how to install some things in a live class will be a lot of time. It will take a lot of time. So here we have Colab. So Colab also has some features like using Colab, we can use like the deep learn or the GPU which is provided by Google. So we'll be using the GPU like the GPU which is provided by Google Colab itself. No need to download any external file or any other application. We can use this Google Colab itself to run some complex neural network or deep learning problems, which we'll be doing it later. And I will show you how to use that, how to use the GPU, which is because for a deep learning or an highly intense computer vision problem, CPU is not enough. So we need to take help of GPU as well. So we'll be learning that later. And because CPU will not be able to handle that much of load, which a deep learning or computer vision or large language model type of problem is required. So for source like open source software like Google Colab, we can perform some of the computation here as well. So, so for today's class, so we'll be starting with what data types in Python. So Python offers several different data types which we'll be requiring in the course ahead. So today we'll be discussing some of them. So like we start with numbers like integer, and integers are the numbers like 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. And float are the numbers which has decimal included in it, like 1.2, 2.3, etc. And then there is a complex number, which which all of us might have studied during our, I think, in ninth or 10th standard, like a plus ij. So a is real component and ij a and j is the imaginary component. So we'll be discussing more in detail with of each of the data types like number, integer, float, which we talked about. So next is Boolean. Then we have string, list, tuple, sets, and dictionaries. This is just I have listed all these data types at one place. We'll be discussing one by one when we go at. So we'll be starting with some basic operations which we can perform in like Python. So Python supports all kind of arithmetic operations. So like we can simply write like and print statement is used to display any output. Like uh, Like if I run this cell, so like sum of 10 plus 5, we can get 15, or even if we can directly write here 10 plus 5 and get 15. So print is basically used in programs, which we will learn ahead, that print is used to print certain uh, output, which we'll study in more detail. Similarly, this is addition. We can perform subtraction like 10 minus 5. Then for multiplication, there is an asterisk sign in Python. And this is a simple division, like 10 divided by 5 gives 2. Similarly, we can go for 11 and we will get the exact value like in decimals. But the operand next we have is what we call double slash is floor division. Here we will get only the integer part or the quotient, like 10 divided by 3 will only give us 3. Whereas if we did normal division, like 10 divided by 3 here, we would get 3.1, 3.33 something like. So here we'll get only the major, it rounds off to the nearest integer. And next we have the modulus operator. So what it gives us the remainder. So 10 divided by 3 will give us remainder of 1. So these symbols you must know, and these are useful when programming ahead. And the double asterisk is used for raising to the power, like 2 to the power 3, like we must have studied in maths earlier. And the output of this and we will discuss later. So, or later. So, we'll see here how this AND operator operates. So, for this AND operator to operate, first this numerical int needs to be converted into binary number. So, the binary form of 5 is 101. And I guess everyone knows how to convert decimal to binary and binary to decimal. So let me know if anyone needs to know how to convert decimal to binary or binary to decimal. I can go with that also. Means I can discuss once. So I think everyone is fine with. So how we perform AND operation is we convert 5 to binary. So binary of 5 is 101, and then the next number which we have, which we are performing it with hand, is 3. So then we again convert it to binary, and its binary is 011. So what we do is in AND is then we go for some operation like 1 and 1 will be 1. So if both is 1, then only the output will be 1. Otherwise, if either is 0, then the output will be 0. So like 1 will give 1, then 0 1 will give 0, 1 0 will give 0. So now we have received this binary number, and to get final output, we need to convert this binary into decimal. So the binary of 0 0 1 will be 1. So similarly, we have this symbol is for OR. So similarly, we have converted 5 and 3 to the binary form. And in OR, if one of the digit is 1, then also we will get 1. So like here, 1 1 will give 1, 0 1 will give 1, and then 1 0 will give 1. So if we convert this binary into decimal, it will give us 7. So 7 is the output of this case. And next is XOR. So in XOR, what we do is, let me bring it in. So in XOR, if we have both 1, then the output will be 0. Like in this case, 1 1 will give 0, and rest other case will get 1. So if there is 0 1, then we'll get 1, then 1 0 will get 1. And similarly, 1 1 0, when we convert it to decimal, it will be 6. And next we have shift operator. Uh, the symbol for, let me show you. the bitwise shift. So one is left shift operator, bitwise left shift, and other is bitwise right shift. So how to operate this means how to get output from this. So if you ever encounter such symbol like two greater than means two inequality sign simultaneously, then what you do is uh, sorry, is anyone saying something? Actually, mic is on unmute. I think someone's mic is on unmute. Okay. Okay. So we were at left binary shift operator. So here also what we need to do is we need to convert into the decimal number into binary form. Like the binary of 3 is 1 1. Yeah. So we were like here left shift bitwise shift operation. So in this, if we encounter such a thing like 3 less than 2, then we must know that we need to perform leftwise shift. So 3 we need to convert to binary. So the binary of 3 is 1 1. And then this 2 means shift the left by two positions. That means that include 2 0 to the right of 1 1. So 1 1 I have written for 3, and then we'll add two zeros to the right of it, like 1 1 0 0. So now next, to get the final output, we'll convert this 1 1 0 0 into decimal. So 1 1 0 0 will give 12 in decimal. So similarly, for right-wise shift, so 12 greater than 2, that means we have to perform bitwise right shift operation, and we will convert 12 into its binary form, so which will be 11 1 1 0 0. And then this greater than will means that we have to shift two digits towards the left. So we'll remove that two zeros from the left, or any digits which will be having. So we'll be remove two zeros. So we'll be getting 1 1. And when we'll convert 1 1 uh, to the decimal form, it will be 3. So next we have unary plus and unary minus. So what happens in unary plus is yeah. So in unary plus, what it does, if we like, it does not change the sign. This is just basic math concept we must have studied. Like plus 3, if we write, then it will remain plus 3. So we can run also here. And we must have studied this, like minus will change the sign, like minus of -4, it will change to +4. So these are just basic concepts where you can just revise. And next important thing is the operation order of means operation. These arithmetic operators are means performed the operation in order in which these operations are performed. So in Python, operations are executed according to the precedence rules, which determine the order in which complex expressions are evaluated. So the order which I have written is the same order in which these operations will be performed. Like first parenthesis will be evaluated, then exponentiation, then unary plus, unary minus, bitwise not, then multiplication, division, floor division, modulus, addition, subtraction, bitwise shift operator, bitwise and bitwise XOR. So you need to remember some of these, not all of this, because these things which you can anyway get online. But for interview, you must remember some of the uh, basic operators which and their precedence in the. Like we have some examples, some basic examples also. This is just simple BODMAS which we might have studied in our maths classes. So simple 3 plus 4 into 2 multiplication has higher precedence than addition. Similarly, so I will not be running these programs. This is just pretty basic. So next we have 3 plus 4 into 2. So here parenthesis will get highest precedence, then we'll go for multiplication, and then will similarly exponentiation has higher precedence than the unary minus. So Python first squares, then applies the unary minus. So next we have false or true and false. Logical and has higher precedence than logical or. So Python first evaluates true and false, then or it will false. Then next we have 2 or 4 right-wise bit shift, then 1 and 1. So here you can see uh, the precedence order. Bitwise shift has higher precedence than bitwise and, which in turn has higher precedence than bitwise or. And similarly, uh, these are the means sequence in which the calculation will take place. First, bitwise shift will be performed, then bitwise and then bitwise uh, or will be performed. So next we have uh, like 3 into 2 exponentiation 2 plus 4. So this is just some BODMAS. So there may be sometime a case where we need to represent a number into its scientific form. The number will be large. So like Avogadro number, which we must have studied in our science classes. So how to write that large number in exponent form? So we can write large number in the form of like 6.5 into e power 6. So this e power 6 generally gives 6.5 into 10 to the power 6. So when you convert 6.5 into 10 to the power 6, you will get following output like this one here. Unit 65 lakh. So similarly, you can write with 6.5 e to the power minus 5. And so next we have what are the different number types in Python. Like we saw, the number is one of the data type in Python, and which will be coming across a lot during this course in data science, because data science is all about numbers. So in Python, there are following 3 types of basically we'll be dealing with, and mostly we'll be dealing with integer and floating point. Complex number is very rare. We'll be seeing some of it. So integer is basically integers are whole numbers that can be positive, negative, or 0 without any fractional part like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And floating point numbers are numbers which has some fractional point, decimals are present, and even some integers when written like 2.0 will be counted as floating point numbers. And complex number is written in the form of a plus ij, where a is real component and j is the imaginary component. And next next we have something called variables. So we'll be using variables to store these data types, any data types, number, string, boolean. So these variables will be useful in our programming. This will be used a lot. So what are variables? So variables are names that provide reference or point to objects stored in memory. So these objects can be of various data types, like we discussed like you saw in the list above: numbers, string, boolean, list, tuples, etc., which we'll be seeing in more details, each of these. And so next we have variables in Python are created by assignment and don't need explicit declaration. If we need to use some variable, we can directly assign it some values. No need to explicitly declare like in C and C++, other languages, we need to first declare that variable and then we can use. So it's not the case with Python. We can directly use the variable by assigning some values. The type of variable is determined dynamically. So the type of values which you will give, Python will automatically decide, okay, like if you give X, like here you can see example, X is equals to 5. So now X will be an integer. And if you write Y is equals to hello world, so Python will automatically know that Y is a string type of variable. So this is quite that's the reason why Python is preferred by most of the data scientists. By most, I mean almost all of them. So these are some of the techniques which makes it easy to use and understand also. And next is reassignment of different types. Variables can be reassigned to objects of different types. So like X is equals to 5 is an integer. We can convert it into float. We can even convert it into integer. And there are certain naming conventions in Python which needs to be followed for a variable. So variables cannot be named by any name. So there are certain rules like variables name in Python can contain letter, digit, cannot start with the digit and underscores. However, underscore can come in between. I'll be showing some of the examples, and they are case sensitive and should start with a and also it should not be the keyword of Python. There are certain keyword of Python which will be seen like def, for loop, while, etc. These are certain keywords which we should not name our variable with these keywords. So like we can start by creating variables like we can start with X is equals to 5 and Y is equals to, so we can, let me show you also the type of this. So here, if you see type of string type of, sorry, I'm writing little slow because I'm on. So we can see here that it is of int type. And similarly, if we replace this X and if we want to see what is the type of Y, so we can see that it is of class string. And we can assign one value to a variable. Then in the next line, we can also change its values like X is equals to 5. So if first we assigned X is equals to 5, and let me print first. Print X and let me just comment this part. And so now you are getting X equals to 5. So, but if I do this and let me comment this part and write again one print statement. So now the value of X will be now I'm string. So it can be changed dynamically going ahead. Like first you have some value, then later you changed on to some other value, then it will be the final value which the Python will remember. So it's always a good practice to name your variable in some meaningful way, not some random number. Like if you are writing age of a person, you should give some appropriate name age. And it's always uh, preferred that you should use underscore between two different words if you are using in variable. It's a good practice and it will come in handy. And similarly, we can go for multiple assignment also. Like here we can see that in this cell, age, username is active is assigned one by one to the then the values are assigned one by one to the variable. But we can also assign multiple values to the variables, and we can print and see these values. Print a. So what you will see is, like, you can see the value of a. So sequentially it assigns. So like a is assigned a 1, b is assigned 2, and c is assigned cat. So you can see here also. So similarly. So like I told that initially, dynamic typing variables in Python can reference objects of different types over time. So like initially my variable was equals to 10. Then my variables equals to 1, 2, 3. Then if you see this, then the final values will be the last one, like key or value. So the finally the Python will remember the last value which it encountered for those. So scope of variable is basically, there are two types of scope: local and global scope. So scope will be discussing later when we study loop or some more advanced concepts. And basically local variable, local scope is its value will be changed, and global scope is that its value will not be changed even after certain operations. So we'll be studying that in some detail. And next we have like Boolean and or. So if like 10 is greater than 5, like 10 is greater than 5, if it's true, so it will be true. It will be 1, and then 2 is less than 3 is also 1. So both comparisons are true, so the result is true. And for or, like 10 is greater than 20, this statement is true, and 2 is less than 3, so this is also true. So the result will be true. So let me show you one false here. What I can do is, so 10 is greater than 5 and 2 is greater. So this statement 2 greater than 3 is not true. So we'll get result false. So if both are true, then we'll get true. Otherwise, one is false. Then in AND case, we'll get false. So similarly, not inverts the result which is in parenthesis, like 10 is greater than 5. So this statement is true, but running this will give false because we have written not in front of it. So this is about some basic number data types and other number and Boolean data types. Rest other data types like string, list, tuple, dictionary will be covering in next class also. And since we can meet again tomorrow. And okay, thank you. See you all tomorrow.